Us today on another episode of Inbound TV. My name is Ken, and what we're going to talk about today is how to structure your Facebook ad account for success. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can do this, and it does vary between Facebook and Instagram, or also known as now Meta, and Google ads or YouTube ads, right? The different platforms could yield different structuring results, and there's different ways that you can go about it. And then also on top of different platforms, you're going to also have different types of goals. So your KPI goals or your conversion event goals could yield a different account structure as well. For instance, if you were doing an e-commerce account setup, it may be different than doing a lead generation account setup. So based on this, you may see different account structures. There's a lot of ways to do it. There's not a clear, concise, one-size-fits-all. There's different types of hypothetical ways to do things. But how we like to think of things here is a little bit more concise, structured, and formatted for long-term success and scaling, which is sometimes one of the most difficult things. Getting consistent results out of any type of ad strategy is very difficult, and it could result in so many different things pertaining to outside factors like seasonality or trends or anything else that could pop up that could skew results that is out of your control. But without further ado, I want to jump into how we think about the account structure. I'm going to do a screen share here as well so you can see kind of the thought process as I write it out. When you're thinking about these types of structures, and we're going to talk more in a, I would say, broad overview, thinking about a few different types of conversion events, whether that's online e-commerce sales or specifically lead generation leads, you could set your account up just the same way for either one of those conversion events. The first thing you're always going to want to do is create some type of campaign to create more awareness and traffic or traction that's going to allow you to create a better testing environment. In my opinion, I think that testing environments in heavy conversion KPI arenas could yield skewed events or skewed results. So in your top of funnel strategy, and I am going to refer back to the top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, or type of strategy. It is kind of old, but I do think that it does allow for a better structure in an account. Keeping things very clean and organized in an account is a difficult task. It could get messy, and as it gets messy, it becomes a little bit more difficult to manage budget, manage results. So keeping a really formal structure could really help long-term scaling and consistent results. So with top of funnel strategy, I like to think of things in a traffic, awareness, or an engagement engagement type of strategy there. Now, with the engagement, you really want to use it as a audience builder, and same thing with awareness. So these two, it might be more audience related. And what I mean by that is, if in the event that you had, let's say, a video running, if you were running a video ad, this here could help you build your audience so that you have an audience to target for 75% viewers, right? People who watch 75% or more of the video could then be built here. If they watch 75% or more of a 3-minute video, it could be assumed that they are interested in the product or service, which could then help you build an audience around this, which could then lead you further down to the middle of funnel strategy. So the awareness and engagement style could be a good way to either test creatives, test copy, but also to build audience, which is difficult to do if you don't have an organic strategy or a way to build a more warmer audience type of strategy. Traffic, I would say, is best for testing strategic copy or placements, copy, creative, audiences, anything here that you think would be worth strategizing and testing around. So anything, if we come back to the more theoretical thinking, anything that you want to test in a format that's going to allow you to say whether or not it's scalable or it's working. If you put a creative in front of consumers, I like to do it in a traffic ad, then you're going to be able to see if that is even worth putting real advertising dollars behind. So when you go back here and think about your top of funnel strategy, everything you do here should be about 10% to 20% of budget. Now, it's important to continue to scale your top of funnel strategy and continue to test. Now, what you test, if you test fast, you're then going to seamlessly move it to your middle of funnel. If you move to your middle of funnel, then you're going to take what's winning here and move it down. And as you move it down into your middle of funnel, you can start to build strategies around your real conversion event goal. For e-commerce, it would be maybe a conversion campaign, or maybe a lead gen campaign that's going to drive you further towards your actual goal. Now, what I like to do here is a conversion test and then a conversion scale. So I'll just label it -T or -S. And then on top of that, I always like to have some type of conversion strategy against Facebook. Now, Facebook likes to do Advantage Plus or DPA, dynamic placement ads, things like that are dynamic product ads that allow for Facebook to optimize things around the user based off of Facebook's data. Now, I like to test against that because that could be either good or bad when looking at ROAS or return on ad spend. So I like to look at conversion test, conversion scaling, and conversion Facebook type of breakdowns. Now here is about 80% of your budget. This is where the bulk of your budget should go, and the result of that should be more driving sales or driving real leads. So that's why the bulk of your budget is going to go here. In testing and conversion test, you might want to do a CBO here, and you might want to test different audiences or different targeted approaches with your ad set level, maybe different placements, an Instagram only, a Facebook only, something of that sort. And then you'll want to test maybe only copy. Again, when you're bringing the conversion test into play, you already know that something up here, which is most likely your creative and your audience up here in your top of funnel already worked. So when you bring it down, you don't need to test things over again. You just want to bring it down to your conversion event and start scaling it. Now, if it works really well for scale and you're like, this is a diamond in the rough, then you can then move it down to your conversion scale, create a new campaign, and I would go ABO here, which is your ad set budget, which then you can place a higher budget. If you know something is working really well with a $50 a day ad spend, let's scale it to 100, 150. As long as your frequency doesn't get super high and you burn that out, then you know you could scale it aggressively. So once you have your top of funnel and your middle of funnel, you'll then have your bottom of funnel. Your bottom of funnel is mostly your retargeting ads. Your retargeting ads, I like to break in a couple of different groups. I would do your abandoned cart if it's a let's say it's a Shopify or e-commerce related type of strategy. If it's a lead generation, it's not going to be as much of a conversion event at this point. Maybe someone who didn't convert on that page. If they didn't convert, then you know you can retarget them. You can do a window of 1 to 7 day, 8 to 14 day, and then 15 plus, I would go maybe to 30 to 60 days here. So you have 4 different types of different ad sets here. My approach here would be abandoned cart, meaning they were really highly engaged. They added products to the cart, but they just didn't check out. So you get aggressive, high frequency. Again, here, high frequency. So you know that if they were just recently on the site, they placed products in the cart, but they abandoned the cart, high frequency could increase the conversion goal because your ROAS here could be really, really strong. If they just simply left, they got busy, they meant to come back later, this is a great way to remind them so you can expect high ROAS in your abandoned cart. For your 1 to 7 day, again, that could be the same case. What you would want to do is you would want to exclude your abandoned carts here because you're strategically placing an ad in front of the abandoned carts. So your abandoned carts are being hit in its own ad set. Then you'll do your 1 to 7 day, and then your frequency here can just go normal for your 8 to 14 and 15 plus. The longer away it is from the customer to visit the site, the less likely they are to actually purchase. So your ROAS might go down more. So if you look back at this, again, you're going to want maybe 10 to 20% of your budget here. And obviously these numbers will fluctuate to match your overall goal here. Your middle of the funnel still should have the bulk of your ad spend. And there should be about 80%. It could be 70% if you wanted to go 15 to 15, but somewhere in this region here. So top of funnel, continuously placing tests into the marketplace to test new creatives, to test new audiences. When something seems like it's working, you want to move that out of the testing phase quickly and move it into your conversion test CBO campaign so that it starts to gain a little bit of traction and allow that conversion event to drive further towards your actual end goal with data that you knowingly now have from your top of funnel test campaign. And then as you see it start working in your conversion event, if you're like, okay, it worked in the test campaign, it's starting to drive further towards my clear KPIs, which is, let's say, sales for an e-commerce. Let's bring it into the conversion scaling ABO actual environment and then start scaling that up aggressively. And then again, always testing against Facebook's AI or Facebook's really generated audiences or an Advantage Plus campaign so that you could really start to match your data against theirs because you don't ever know if theirs is going to perform really, really strongly against your campaigns. And then where you're going to pick up higher ROAS, more effective and clear, concise conversion events is your bottom of funnel, picking up really more sales from users that you know have engaged or have visited your site prior to them being there. So this is a really good account structure. I think what we see happen a lot of the times on smaller budgets, you miss either the top of funnel or the bottom of funnel strategy. But once you start to scale, you should always be testing new creatives, be testing new copy, testing audiences. Change the environment there a little bit so that you can knowingly take ads from the top of funnel, move them to a testing environment in the middle of funnel, and then start to scale your middle of funnel more aggressively for new customer acquisition. That typically goes missed mostly. And then retargeting. If you don't retarget, those could be really high ROAS, conversion events for you because they are already on your site. They engage. Something interests them. If you've piqued their interest and if they've abandoned the cart specifically, then it could be a really great way to get in front of someone who engaged a lot and just didn't complete that last simple step, which is just the payment processing part. So hope this is a quick video, but I hope this helps create some more information for you when thinking about how you should structure your account. You want to drive users down a funnel, down a pathway that creates more interest, more engagement, and leads closer to your KPI goals. So we appreciate you watching today. If you have any questions, feel free to throw some thoughts into the comments. We can always circle back. And until next time, we really thank you for being a part of this journey. I wanted to jump into account structure before we got really deep into the middle of funnel processes because that entails a lot of data, a lot of insight, and a lot of important breakdowns because your account could get messy if you don't have the proper structure to begin with. So thanks for watching. We'll dive deeper into middle of funnel next time. And if you have any thoughts, throw them in the comments.